And take that on the street for me.
Oh, I can't film here?
You can't come up here.
Okay, where can I be?
Get on the street.
Oh, jeez! Route 66, America's most famous road, is turning 100 this summer, and you're probably thinking, it's time to drive it.
And to start at the very beginning, it means wandering in to the Windy City.
If this is something you're planning to do, you can go to a lot of trouble just to see a single sign.
On November 11th, 1926,
100 years ago, Route 66 started right here on Adams Street in front of a Chick-fil-A. Well, that might have changed over the years.
it all starts here. The start of 2,400 miles of vintage cars, vintage signs, vintage gas stations, and vintage people. And for its centennial, I'm showing you all of it.
States started racing US 66 from the map in the 1970s once the freeways were done. In fact, Illinois here was the first state to do that in 1974.
So how are we supposed to celebrate
Oh,
something gone for 50 years?
stupid.
This is the story.
Braving the lightning to show you. But I'm standing on top of some of the original pavement.
Of engineering,
Man, closed.
innovation,
Even the big rig trucks drive through here.
and resilience.
This was the bee's knees, man.
Where the road just keeps getting older and older. So let's go for a drive.
And this is the part where I'm supposed to stage hopping in my car and driving off on a romanticized vacation highway.
It's like the Chicago outfit got out of the protection racket and into something else.
Where's my ticket? $38. Business is definitely paying for that.
If I don't smuggle my wallet out of town quick, this is going to be a real short trip.
I've never seen a city where even the buses honk.
Adams Street is just a street. Chicago made this a one-way. So if you drive Route 66 west to east and stay true to the original map, you're going to get a ticket.
Whoa!
There's Midwest nice,
Come on.
but I'm not from the Midwest. I mean, if I were willing to do that, I'd save a lot of money and geek out about the first cool thing on Route 66.
I'd stop and show you that bridge, but there's nowhere to park.
But here's a picture of one at Michigan Avenue. They're both tilting bascule bridges, and the Adams Street Bridge opened 1 year after Route 66, on the same day the city dedicated Buckingham Fountain. But now that we're west of the Chicago River,
Little tiny brown sign there, Route 66.
which is really easy to miss,
Our first left turn here, Ogden Avenue.
a street that runs diagonally. Around 1900, they paved it in brick. In 1920, they paved it in asphalt, just in time to call it a major U.S. highway.
You gotta stop thinking of Route 66 as like a freeway. You get on it and follow it. It's definitely a route.
One that now takes us out of the central business district into Chicago's southwest neighborhoods. To 99% of people driving this street, this is not Route 66. This is just Ogden Avenue, where you pass a currency exchange place and a Dunkin' Donuts next to another currency exchange place.
I can't just put Santa Monica, California into Google Maps here, or else it'll just take me on the freeway. I have to download like a special Route 66 map.
Back in the 50s, all the car-based businesses were along this highway because the diagonal road lets you go one side of the triangle instead of having to drive two. The road may keep going straight, but at Berwyn, Illinois, US 66 made a hard left turn, so you got to pay attention. And I wasn't.
Oh, shoot. That's my turn there. So to make up for it, I'm doing 3 rights.
Put up a sign banning it must mean this is a pretty common mistake.
4 to 6 p.m. Don't do that.
Or the left turn arrow is just unbearable. I'm just happy to be leaving the suburb that heartlessly destroyed a Wayne's World landmark. Thankfully, Berwyn lets you leave. Cook County's smallest city.
Evidently, what happens in McCook stays in McCook.
In the shadow of this knockoff Las Vegas sign is a huge piece of Route 66 engineering history, and I drove right past it. Joliet Road, the old 66, used to cut through here diagonally until 1998 when the earth underneath the pavement started falling apart and Illinois had to shut the road down. Now, coincidentally, there happens to be a big quarry on both sides of the road, and while that company never admitted fault, they did pay the state of Illinois $40 million outside of court, which the state used to widen roads going around the site, and the old 66 through there has been closed ever since. And also 12 miles in, Route 66 ends.
It's putting me on the freeway.
In the early 1960s, Illinois built Interstate 55. And to do that, they buried the old highway underneath the new northbound lanes.
Well, so much for driving Route 66.
But that's probably a good thing. I-55 carries 140,000 vehicle trips every day.
See, a half century ago, it was wide open country down here, so why not put Interstate 55 on top of 66? But as you head north up into Chicago, well, as we saw, that's literally a city street. You tear down the whole city trying to put 55 on top of it. So they built 55 around it into areas where it was easier to redevelop. That's called the bypass. And the concept of a bypass happens over and over again as we keep heading south on US 66.
And I'll soon learn Route 66 is less about where as it is about when, because the road moved constantly.
I'm thinking there's some ambiguity between what Illinois thinks is historic 66 and the person who made my map, because I haven't seen a 66 sign in miles.
In the 1990s, the Illinois legislature proclaimed 66 a historic state highway.
These signs are becoming my best friend. I'm really impressed at how aggressively Illinois put them up.
And a century ago, Illinois was pretty aggressive at getting Route 66 built up.
Chicago had paved roads. Here in Joliet had paved roads. Towns down south had paved roads. It was the countryside in between that was unpaved. So the idea is spend a little money, pave those roads, call it all one big long highway, and in the process, tie all the Illinois towns together.
And it's here we find the first big celebrating of the Mother Road.
Joliet, and the first genuine roadside attraction, a huge 66 you could take a selfie with. Yeah, it was worth all the Chicago traffic.
Thanks to the Model T in the 20s, there were more cars than ever, but not enough roads to drive on. I mean, check out this map. It seems like there's a lot of roads, but those red lines, those are dirt. So all 48 states, like Illinois, teamed up to stitch together a national network of paved U.S. highways, favoring roads that were already paved or about to be paved. And one of those lines on the map, US 66. And in 1926, that meant taking advantage of the already paved road through the center of town. But in just a few short years, they realized, oh, this might have been a mistake. Well, maybe not that kind of mistake. This video is not sponsored by Lawsuit & Lawsuit, America's largest lawsuit law firm. How did they get so big? A 35% contingency fee, baby. And it doesn't hurt to work the attorneys like dogs. Came to building highways,
Illinois was really ahead of the curve. In 1916, a federal appropriations bill gave the state about $700,000.
But that wasn't enough. Illinois voters approved a $60 million bond in 1918, that'd be billions in today's money, to pave a system of state-numbered roads from scratch, and for good reason.
You had paved roads in the cities, but come out in the country in between, rural roads in the 1920s looked a lot like they did in the 1850s. And nobody wanted to drive their car in that.
But the state bond meant there was money
to build a road from Chicago all the way to St. Louis for real. And that was long before anybody came up with the idea for US 66.
And it was not lucrative work.
Road crews actually building the highway, they got paid about 40 cents an hour. That'd be like $8 today. And they used horse teams pulling graders. Horses made the road.
These state highways served an important purpose before Route 66. And today they still do long after.
I've been driving for hours and I haven't had that moment where I feel like, oh, I'm out on the open road now. No, there's some big power plant, there's logistics warehouses.
And pavement just seems like pavement. It's really easy to overlook. But here we find the next interesting bit of Route 66 engineering.
This is worth braving the lightning for a second to jump out of the car and show you. But I'm standing on top of some of the original pavement.
Back when US 66 had a separate bed of pavement for the northbound and southbound sides.
This is Route 66.
But when Illinois opened I-55, they didn't need 4 lanes anymore, so they abandoned half the road.
This is the first time of this entire journey where I feel something historic, sentimental, the kind of thing you'd expect from a Route 66 road trip.
Just sitting here abandoned for more than half a century, it's amazing it's holding up as well as it does. Illinois still has 60 miles of original US 66 concrete that's not buried, repaved, or torn out. In 2012, the state graded their own preservation work, found mismatched patches with the wrong texture, or sometimes just lazily filling holes with asphalt. The trouble is the old recipe can't be copied because that kind of cement is gone. And it doesn't help that 1920s road crews poured it all as one long slab with nothing to let it flex on hot days, so it's cracking up in really weird ways.
There's something kind of humbling about walking where other people drove. Walk a mile in somebody else's tires.
In only a few short years, US 66 became the economic engine for hardy Midwesterners.
Now, in 49 other states, they call this a rainstorm. Where I'm from, we consider this a natural disaster.
We have storm team coverage standing by in Sierra Madre, Pacific Palisades, and Hollywood.
By the 1940s, US 66 was too successful for its own good.
Military trucks driving over the road again and again wore the pavement out a lot faster than anybody had planned.
So Illinois would build a better road going around the town.
Dwight, Illinois, Well, the state had to bypass it during the war because there was too much traffic going through their main street. Funny enough, 20 years later, they built Interstate 55 and bypassed Dwight a second time. An upside of the highway going through the center of town is you got a lot of eyeballs seeing your local businesses, a lot of wallets zipping by that want to stop in and spend some money. The downside is if you have too many vehicles zipping through the center of town, even the local people aren't going to want to go downtown to spend money.
It's a story that happens over and over again across Illinois. Downtowns that were drowning in traffic found themselves in a drought.
Outside of Lincoln near the cemetery is some original pavement here, but it's not pavement, it's brick. Well, brick's a kind of pavement, right?
Technology of the 1910s.
I thought, oh, it's some kind of restoration project, but no, apparently a lot of this has been here continuously.
Engineers back then were literally inventing this field of engineering. And so they tried all different kinds of materials. And in the big picture, brick did not make the cut.
It's very 1920s engineering with a concrete curb there, 18 feet of bricks coming across to another concrete curb. 18 divided by 2, that's 9 feet. I can't think of any city in America that would build a street with 9-foot lanes nowadays.
By the 30s and 40s, concrete and asphalt won out. And as they built new roads going around the towns, they added more advanced design standards.
1940s technology meant a road that was wider, 2 lanes in each direction, gentler curves so you could drive a lot faster, have speed limits of 55 or 60 miles an hour. But the problem is you don't want somebody backing out of their driveway in front of somebody going 55 or 60 miles an hour. So you put all the driveways and small neighborhood streets over here
on a totally separate road, a frontage road with a much slower speed limit.
You separate it out. Slow over here, fast over here. You limit access of where people can get onto the high-speed highway. And limited access, that was the infancy of the technology the interstate highways were about to use.
In 1956, Congress agreed to pay states 90% of the cost to build freeways if these interstate highways complied with even stricter standards.
Here on Interstate 55, they put in a literal barbed wire fence to limit access. And also to limit access, you couldn't just have an intersection connect to this with stop signs or a stoplight. You have to use ramps and a bridge.
Engineers call this total grade separation. Anything crossing the freeway must go up and over or down and under.
But it makes it a lot safer because no T-bone crashes this way.
And freeways are almost always going to bypass a town.
Each time's kind of a step up, right? Because the 1920s design, well, it was inherently dangerous. The 1940s design was safer, but it was inherently dangerous. So the 1960s design, well, that one's held up for 60 years.
And highway design geometry has kind of plateaued since. Now all the excitement is in the next frontier.
There's a bike trail next to Route 66. Now that's a good amenity.
Most bike paths are in the city because that's where people live. So it's kind of fun to see one way out here.
See, I think every rural highway should have a bike trail off to the side like that because you say, well, not that many people are using it. Exactly. And so I'm not looking for bikes. I'm not looking for pedestrians. So I'm more likely to hit one. All the more reason they should be over on a trail safely out of the road.
So you can imagine my excitement when I drove past this sign.
I just saw this. I want to find out what this is all about. Bike 66?
Since 1978, highway officials from all over the country have been trying to cobble together a network of bike routes. Kind of like how US 66 was cobbled together. And one of them is Bike Route 66, but it doesn't go very far.
What if all the states built a continuous bike trail along all of Route 66?
Because to ride it now, you'd have to be an Olympic-skilled bicyclist. Most of the rest of us didn't qualify to go to the big games.
Welcome to Atlanta!
I'm not so sure about that. It's 58 degrees this morning. After being on the road filming for 3 months, I finally made it over to my P.O. box. So thank you very much to Bennett, who sent me a postcard from Australia. And I can't read your name on the back because it's covered up with the label. A nice Christmas card from Lazar in San Diego. Thank you very much. I really appreciate what you wrote there. And a letter from Ryan. He says he's 11 years old, watches my videos with his mom and dad, and wants me to come make a video about the Roberta Road roundabout in Concord, North Carolina.
Which it sounds like they built in 2022. And the next town over is planning to build a second one at Main Street.
And of course, thank you to the 900 or so of you who contribute each month at patreon.com/roadguyrob, allowing me to shoot over 3 terabytes of video, which you'll see peppered out each month over the rest of the year.
Illinois' small towns go to a lot of effort to feel like a vacation place, but more importantly, they're a place actual people live.
A true slice of Americana that a guy in a Honda Pilot's listening to Rage Against the Machine.
Route 66 amplified business competition. Cars made it easier for customers to go shop a different business.
Better amenities so you can beat the competition, and somebody thought, why don't you put the gas pumps underneath the porch so people can get out of the rain?
These kind of canopies attached to the building were expensive to build, and by the late 1930s were starting to go out of favor. But the idea didn't go away. And when self-service took over in the 1970s, freestanding canopies made a huge comeback. But
This evolved into every single gas station in the world today having an awning over it.
Central Illinois becomes a choose-your-own-adventure book. Want to take Route 66 around town or dive straight into the city's center? It's not so much about choosing where you go as it is when you go. Sometimes you get no choice at all.
Looks like we gotta go on the freeway again.
Through those sections where the old US 66 is buried underneath the freeway's main lanes. Other times, 66 is the freeway frontage road, except in all the places where a freeway exit gets in the way.
Makes me wonder, though, what's more authentic? Staying on the freeway, but then it's not really a Route 66 trip, or taking this road, but then making all these unnecessary curves that are also not authentic.
It's a lot easier for a roadside attraction to distract you from the frontage road.
Are there any Corvair enthusiasts left? Between, aging and the fact they drove Corvairs.
If you're just dying to see an air-cooled economy car that was not made in Germany, this is your place. But things change when you get to Springfield and drive south of the humble log cabin Lincoln was born in and built with his own two hands. By the way, I'm loving the new license plates.
Order now.
From here, no more choosing your Route 66 time period town by town. US 66 now splits into two entirely different roads. Illinois Highway 4 opened in 1921, and we're going to choose that one because it's more fun.
North of Auburn, Illinois, we run into more original brickwork on one of these original 1920s alignments. Up the road here, it used to have a sharp left turn, and they smoothed out the corner. And the urban legend is the person who was in charge of picking what material they were going to build this thing out of, well, he owned a brick factory, so he chose brick.
It's fun.
Though technically this happened in 1932, after Route 66 moved somewhere else. So this spent 0 years being part of the highway, but still cool.
Now, over the years, I think they've had to patch it up some as you come onto the bridge here. See how it's suddenly a different color, almost like a red? But it blends together okay. That's not too bad for something that's 100 years old.
And it shows Illinois preserves more than the old Route 66. The brick road is on Highway 4, but you can see here, it still exists. And it's probably just as important to Illinois history as US 66.
Both you and your neighbor could say, I've driven all of Route 66, and then you share photos and find you guys saw entirely different things because you were on different roads.
And some of the original pavement for Highway 4 is still around, making it some of the oldest pavement on Route 66 because it's older than Route 66.
We talked earlier about how the 1920s engineering was 18 feet wide. I'm not in a very big car, and this feels very skinny.
Illinois realigned this highway after 10 years, so that's probably why we still have this original 1920 pavement. But the coolest engineering is really easy to miss.
This doesn't look like much of anything, these two little concrete walls on the side of the highway, but for 1920s engineering, this was the bee's knees, man. Those muddy roads in the 1910s, well, what ruined them? What made them muddy? Water on this side of the road that wanted to be on that side of the road. So how'd they fix it in the 20s with Route 66? They put in one of these, a box culvert, a big concrete box that goes underneath the highway's pavement so the water can get from here to there without ruining the road. And nowadays, you're going to see box culverts on pretty much any highway, anywhere.
But as you keep driving south, you come to another square bit of engineering. Carlinville, which is like a traffic square.
The central part of town's like a big roundabout.
I mean, a squareabout.
You just go around in a circle around the town square.
When you approach on Illinois Highway 4, the old 66, or the cross street 108, all the traffic drives around it counterclockwise, around the town's rotunda. There used to be a courthouse here that President Lincoln practiced law in, but that building's gone now. It's kind of fun seeing all the traffic drive through town.
Even the big rig trucks drive through here. It does mean if I'm shopping here and I'm parked here, then I have to cross all the through traffic, so there's a little bit of a flaw to that.
From 1926 to 1930, the 4 years all the Chicago to LA traffic routed through here, this centerpiece forced drivers to slow down. But by 1930, traffic was gone, rerouted onto the straighter alignment to the east that misses the square entirely. By 1977, every Illinois town would lose Route 66, demoting the mother road to being just a frontage road.
Take scenic Route 66, okay. And I know like half the time the freeway would be right there.
And what's not a boring frontage road may just be an interesting afterthought.
This is one of the challenges is Route 66 is not a freeway. They're not in a rush necessarily to fix it. So it could be closed without warning for months. And there goes the authenticity of your trip.
But your vacation here, it's a lot like the people here. Down to earth, not flashy. And Route 66 is the same way. Not loaded up with neon signs and towering mountains like we'll see out west. Route 66 through Illinois is just an old highway doing its job. As we reach the gateway city's eastern edge, which apparently people on the other side of the river tell me I have to roll up the windows for 2 reasons. That seems a little mean.
One of the original routes into St. Louis, the McKinley Bridge. I'm assuming they named it after President McKinley.
On the next Road Guy Rob,
I'm assuming they named it after President McKinley.
they did not.
This bridge doesn't go straight. It turns 30 degrees for some reason.
In Missouri,
66 is closed forever.
it's a mess of bridges.
Stay off, deck may collapse, do not enter. Way off in the distance, there's the arch down there. I'm not falling for it. I'm not paying another 38 bucks to park. No. Stupid Chicago. There.